We're all trying to find the perfect productivity methods that will turn us from lazy slobs to super productive chads that make all of those dollars that we've always known that were possible for us to have in our bank accounts. As a creative freelancer, I've tried out many of these different techniques and some didn't quite work well for me at all. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing 5 super popular productivity hacks that didn't work for me and the methods that I decided to replace them with instead. So let's begin with number 1, bullet journaling. For those unfamiliar, bullet journaling is basically a manual physical note-taking system that you use to help schedule all of your weekly and monthly tasks. Especially if you're generally a crafty person, it's actually super fun to set out your bullet journal to your liking. And then putting a big X or a tick next to the task that you've just done, it's a pretty satisfying process. This thing here is actually my previous bullet journal, and as you can see, I filled up the whole thing. So why did I stop with the bullet journaling method? One, it started to get pretty tedious for me to have to constantly rebuild the whole journal after it got finished. And for example, if I had a task that I couldn't finish during the day and I wanted to bump it to tomorrow or the week after, I'd have to manually write that task in again during the following week. And just doing that long term got kind of tedious and annoying. 2, there was also a few times when it was actually pretty impractical for me to physically carry my journal with me. So if I ever had a task to jot down, I'd just end up reverting back into my phone and using Apple Notes. And 3, as a bonus slash slightly vulnerable point, is that I've always found my handwriting to be quite ugly. So it was never aesthetically pleasing to flick through my journal. And for me, convenience is the king of things that productivity needs to have. Therefore, I've been opting for a digital system for the last few years. My system of using the apps Todoist and Fantastical have been my go-to for now, and they're working so well. Being able to use both of them on desktop or mobile in an instant, and having a home screen widget for Todoist so I can very easily just put any ideas that just happen to have popped into my brain onto a digital system so I'll never forget about them is the way that I prefer to do it. It's just way too easy, and it basically means that I have no excuse not to ponder ideas in my head because I know that I can just put them down very easily on a digital system like Todoist. I think if the sacrifice of convenience is worth having, the nice aesthetic feeling of something physical in your hands that feels nice and looks nice, then you will love the bullet journal system. But if you prefer a more fail-safe option that you can quickly customize and it already looks pretty to you without having to draw the most amazing artistic masterpiece next to your grocery store list, which is what you can do with something like this, then I think a digital task manager would be better suited to you. So yeah, no more of this. Bye. Kind of want it back. It feels really nice. Number 2 is no morning routine. There's a big trend of people against the whole morning routine, saying that you instead need to just wake up and eat the frog and do the task that you really, really don't want to do, but you just push yourself to make it happen. And I have tried this, waking up, brushing my teeth, and then just sitting at my computer and just doing the thing that I'm feeling some friction towards getting done. Like a really important task or something that I know has been on my to-do list for many weeks and I've just kept bumping it forward. My morning routines used to look like this. I would wake up, eat breakfast, go to the gym or bouldering or do some kind of sport to get out of the house, spend about an hour doing, my habits, practice piano, practice Hungarian, and then I'd sit and eat my breakfast in front of YouTube on my TV, and then I'd actually get to my computer to start doing my work, which is probably like a dream morning routine for a lot of people who are watching this, but I found that I was actually less focused, oddly, by the time I'd actually wanted to start doing work, because even though I'd woken up early, by the time I actually sat on my desk to start doing work, it wasn't that early anymore. So I tried this eat the frog method where I would literally just wake up, have a pee, brush my teeth, wash my face, and then start working right away. And for a while, I thought this method was okay, but it had the effect of actually making me not feel excited about waking up. I'd get out of bed and then almost immediately have to go and eat this proverbial frog. But this just led me to procrastinating even more because I hadn't quite revved up my brain enough to feel like I could focus properly, especially when I'd literally been cuddled up, snuggled in bed 10 minutes before this. Maybe I didn't stick with this long enough, or, I wasn't a man enough to push through this initial discomfort for long enough. Then working right away would become a second nature thing. But it did prove to me that this hour-long morning routine that I used to have was a little bit extreme, and I could move it to later in the day, at least some of these habits, and still feel rewarded for getting up early in the day. Now my mornings include me going out of the house to do some kind of sport, so same as before. Coming back home, eating breakfast while watching some YouTube, so same as before. But then I go straight to my desk to sit on my computer to start with my daily tasks. I much prefer this routine, as going outside in any capacity wakes me up, and exercise fills me with the feeling of energy and a sense of achievement that no matter how unproductive or productive that I am in the day, at least I've done one good thing for myself during this day. I think there's definitely something to this eat the frog immediately method and mindset. And for you, it might be the kick up the backside you need to get important tasks done, rather than, rolling around in bed waiting for the snooze button to be hit as the alarm pops off again. But for me, there's nothing that beats getting some vitamin D on your skin before you have to stare at the pixels on your screen for hours on end. If you live in the UK, sorry, you'll only be able to do this for 2 days of the year, getting the vitamin D. But I'm sure some fresh rain on your face is basically the same thing. Number 3 is super early morning routines. I've always considered myself to be a night owl who just focuses better when everybody else is fast asleep. And as much as I enjoyed this routine, when the short winter days start to kick in and you wake up to see the last few rays of sunlight for the entire day, you realize this maybe isn't the healthiest thing for your vitamin D deprived skin. So I went about reversing years and years of night owl habits and routines until I finally got to the point where I could consistently wake up at 9 a.m. Probably not that early for a lot of people who are watching this who wake up way earlier than that. And then I started to think, if I can get up at 9 a.m., surely I can get up even earlier, let's say at 6 a.m. And as cool as this would have been to go for a morning run when most of the city was still fast asleep, the times when I had a later night than usual, hanging out with friends, for example, then the 3 hours of sleep that I get to actually wake up at 6 a.m. wasn't worth the rest of the day of me being in like a zombified, sleep-deprived state. That's the biggest issue with a super early morning routine, is that you have to stay consistent with this or else it'll just f up your whole pattern. And if you want to have like a normal social life, you're gonna have to miss out on opportunities and serendipitous events that crop up because your 9 p.m. bedtime curfew is creeping up fast. Now I consistently get up at 8 a.m. and I am in bed by about 11 p.m. Yeah, I could get up an hour earlier, but I found that this sleep schedule is the most balanced for the kind of things that I want to optimize for in my life. To be able to say yes to a late night social gathering and be able to get up at an appropriate time so I can get some much needed vitamin D, I keep saying vitamin D, much needed vitamin D on my skin at a time when I'm not worried about getting mugged on my morning jog with no one to save me from this masked assailant. No, leave me alone, don't rob me. To be fair, in London, you're screwed no matter what time you hit the streets for the morning run. Keep bashing my home country so much in this video. Number 4 is cold showers. Wim Hof is gonna be with me for what I'm about to say, but I tried this for a bit and honestly just found it too difficult. When I wake up, the last thing I want to do is something that I actively dislike, aka freezing my ass off in an icy cold hell. Trying this for a few days actively forced me to want to stay in bed for longer in an attempt to avoid the discomfort of this, versus encouraging me to get up by doing some kind of energizing sport where I can also be listening to a nice podcast that I enjoy and actually want to listen to. So for now, in order to not have showering as another task added to my morning routines, I swapped my showering to only happen at nighttime, which FYI is actually way better if you think about it, because having a warm shower before bedtime relaxes all of your muscles, and that in turn helps you get to sleep quicker and probably have better sleep as well. If I was a millionaire baller, I would consider some kind of cold therapy bathtub so that I could wake up and hit the sauna, then hop into this nice cold bath and have all the benefits of the hot, cold. That feels absolutely amazing. Every time I go to the bathhouses here in Budapest, I do this, and yeah, I feel like an absolute king afterwards. So one day when I'm a millionaire, I don't need a Tesla, I don't need a Ferrari, actually maybe a Tesla, but all I want is sauna and cold tub. Number 5 is monk mode. For those unfamiliar with this, monk mode is essentially a period of focused time solely dedicated to making progress on the specific goals that you have. This can be anywhere from 1 week right up until an entire month of focused productivity. Now, I've tried versions of this, including shutting out like all fun activities such as gaming, socializing, etc. And even though I did get a lot done during the periods that I tried this, I found it to be too isolating, and it didn't encourage a lot of the serendipity that just makes living life more enjoyable. I'm also not keen on the general brand and ethos behind monk mode. That seems to suggest you can only be a successful entrepreneur and productive when you cut out all of the other things in life that make you a balanced, functioning human being. When in reality, having no work-life balance isn't an admirable thing to strive for. Yes, there's going to be times when work has to take a priority as you hustle to, hit that project deadline. But you need to acknowledge that this isn't the be-all, end-all of ultimate productivity. For me, productivity is about being able to make progress on the important tasks you want to do within a given time frame during a given day, and then appropriately rewarding yourself for making progress on them. With socializing or a fun hobby that helps to calm down your mind so you feel recharged and ready for the following day. I'm way more likely to focus in the day when I know that being focused and pushing through any discomfort that comes my way with getting a task done means that I can have a treat and be rewarded by playing a video game in the evening. My version of monk mode is to have monk days. So by working from home or at a coffee shop with proper office hours. Okay, I personally start working at around 10 a.m. because I exercise in the morning, and so it's not quite proper office hours, but I aim to work between about 10 a.m. till 7 p.m. with lunch and dinner included in between these. Then the evenings and weekends are left for me to do whatever the hell I want with them. This feels the most efficient and sustainable in the long run, especially if you work for yourself and have control over your daily schedule. After all, what's the point in being your own boss if you can't use the advantages of this by saying yes to grab a coffee and co-work with a friend who's taking the rather equally anxious path of pursuing life as a freelance creative? If you want to hear about 30 life lessons I wish I'd known in my 20s, you should check out this video here and give that subscribe button a clickety-click if you haven't, because if you do, I'll install a cold shower right above your bed so you'll have no excuses ever again to hit that snooze button. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.